Yeah, really appreciate that sort of overview, Rich. I think it's really good just to remind people, I guess, how this platform is built, because it probably, the reason why we put that there is to hopefully let us understand a little bit more about what the platform we're actually dealing with is all about. Because I know that there are some people in here, and I'm not saying that there's many of them, but there are some people here who haven't actually used the admin console before. So this is why we want to do that refresher. So if you're an IT admin at a school, or you're in that group, you will be a delegated admin for your school. If you are working in ICT services and you're supporting multiple schools, then you can obviously have delegated admin roles for the different schools that you're supporting. What it does look like, though, this is actually a screenshot from my screen. So what you'll notice is that it looks a little bit different in that, if the first one you may notice if you've seen screenshots of the admin console is that apps doesn't appear on there. The other one that's come up obviously within the past year is generative AI. That also doesn't appear there. And so on the sort of front side of it, it looks like maybe you don't have enough access to do things. What we're hopefully going to point out today is that that's definitely not the case. But we're also going to explain sort of why we would like certain settings to stay the same, and also the ones that we sort of are suggesting that as a school you might want to investigate changing. So how do you get there? So if you go, the image I have here is actually in the little waffle icon in the top right of your Chrome browser. You can click there and you'll scroll down and find admin. So you can click on that and you'll be forced to sign in again, even if you're already signed into that tab. Into that browser. Just a reminder here, while I've got you all on the call, it's a really good idea when we're using, well, not just us, but our staff and our students, to push them to Google Chrome, just as a way for them to actually sign into the browser, and then that way to make sure that you're actually signed into all the apps that you're using. But yeah, so that's the first part. So in terms of what you get out of it, I've sort of altered this slide a bit to hopefully let you know what you can see. So you can actually view the users and their attributes at a local level, and you can also see the OUs that might exist at your school. And you can actually control lots of settings, in particular user browser settings and device settings for your school. You can also update and control your Chrome devices within that school, and set up, provision, deploy Chrome, Android web applications for your school as well, and assigning printers and networks to your Chrome devices. And also you have access to the support console within there as well. So in terms of the landing page, when you first log in, this is what you'll see. And so what you can see there, hopefully, is you've got your users sitting in there, and you've got this app access control. On the side, what you'll see that you've got a directory and devices in the Chrome browser. You can also see, one of the ones that I like to point out to people is your product updates will appear here as well. So it's a good idea. You know, at the moment, Google tend to be releasing a lot of updates all at once. And so having a look at the moment, if you log in now, you can see this image was taken 4 days ago. There's another, I think I've counted another 10 updates that have been released within the past few days as well. So keeping your eye on that is a really good idea. Just something I want to touch on that Richard was sort of talking about before. He mentioned a few features which you can't see. And I guess one of the reasons we want to have this webinar as well was to open up the discussion in a way to sort of say, hey, like, whilst you can't see the settings and we're not giving you access to change them, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't consider setting changes for your school. And one of those examples is that target audiences in Google Drive. So we've been working with a couple of schools to test that out, sort of been informed as well by some of our counterparts from around Australia in other jurisdictions. And we think we've got a pretty good formula for that. So that's an example of putting a support ticket in if you would like to see target audiences done at your school. And then that will go to the relevant team here within our office, and they can get that sorted for you. The standard that we're giving everyone, and only because there is a limit on how many of these we can create. The standard is that for every school, we would like to see that you have your all of your staff as your first option, then you have leadership staff, and then some schools are requesting that they have their students as the third option. The one that we're removing is the whole department. The reason for that is we're finding that there's actually limited use cases that you would want to share with the whole department, and you can get there through a group sharing permission anyway if you really needed to. So it's really, I guess, more talking to your staff about limiting access to some of this stuff rather than sort of going for that default position of I'm going to share everything with everyone, actually thinking about the audiences that you might want to share with. And to reference this, I'm just going to quickly chuck a link in the chat for you. So this document has all of the standard groups that we provision centrally for you. And so, yeah, so click on that link and you should be able to jump into that document. What you'll see is I've got site ID written within there. Obviously, that is just put your own site ID in there and you'll be able to work out what your group is. The other way to get to it is just groups.google.com. You can see all the groups that you're a part of there as well. But that would help you sort of understand a bit of the groups that and what the sort of audience range is for those groups, and really encouraging, as I said, your staff to actually use those groups rather than just sharing with anyone and everyone. The reason why we would always encourage sharing with groups is, once again, and sorry if my nomenclature is incorrect here, but basically that's provisioned centrally, which means that the makeup of those groups is continually being updated. So let's say that you had someone in your leadership team, then they just left that leadership role. Part of that leadership team, they had access to some data that potentially a normal staff member wouldn't. You wouldn't actually have to worry about removing access from all those files you gave them access to, because they would just be removed as soon as they're taken out of that group. So group-based access control is definitely something that we would like to continue to push from within the department, because I guess it stops that oversharing of information that tends to be an issue in lots of schools and organisations. The other one that sort of is another thing for you guys to have a look at is that you can also manage, as I said, your Chrome OS and browser attributes, user device network policies. Network policies written down here is like a really good one for you to have a look at in your school if you have Chromebooks. So that's only a Chromebook one, sorry. What that will allow you to do is just make sure that students are connecting to that network properly. And yeah, so this is for managed devices. You can also run Chrome reports within here. I actually did one before just to show you what this might look like. There's no sensitive data in here, but when you jump into here, you'll actually be able to see what your fleet looks like for your Chrome OS devices. It's really useful because it lets you, I guess, see which devices you have running out of support, which ones potentially also users maybe haven't updated. At the bottom there, I don't know if you can see on the bottom of my slide, it says 168 devices are pending an update. So that just means that we've literally got devices just sitting there. Now that number is probably incorrect, and we're going to talk through that in a sec, that we're going to turn on some metrics to allow us to get a better idea of that. But I think that's a really good place to start if you have Chromebooks in your school, to sort of jump in, have a look what your fleet looks like and see if there's any things that need attention at the moment. In terms of support, so back on that homepage, you can jump and access the help assistant. This will then prompt you to look at some knowledge-based articles and some alerts for the platform status and all that sort of stuff. On knowledge articles, I just quickly wanted to make you aware of something. So we actually have a KB article that we're about to publish. And so you guys are getting it first here. You'll see some change notifications hopefully coming out today or tomorrow, just to let you know that we're about to start changing some of the default settings within the central tenancy. This is really big thanks to some people in this call where we actually went through and reviewed all the settings, and we're just with the goal of improving security, but also the operation of the central tenancy, that there are just some things that we needed to change to make sure that the user experience was really good. And so what we did is, rather than doing these incrementally, we actually looked at across the whole system and went, how many of these can we actually knock off here without having a significant impact on schools? One of the things that I really want to point out with this is that, and I'm about to show you this, we've classified settings as either mandatory, recommended, or suggested. The suggested settings will not be applied. They are simply, and I'm going to talk about some of them soon. They are simply ones that we would recommend that you look at if it applies to your school. The mandatory and recommended, we will apply from the top, as in from the Department for Education level, and they will flow down. They will not flow down, though, if you have also already assigned an alternative setting. And so, yeah, basically, if you've already got settings that apply and you've altered them, then that is okay. What we would still encourage you to do is look at what our recommended or mandatory settings are for those, though, and make sure that you're on top of that. So in that, I want us to start, and I've just realized my screenshot stuffed up here because we've cut the top level of justification. So within that KB article, you'll see a link to a sheet, and that is this sheet that I'm showing screenshots of to you now. Within that, you can hopefully see that it's got a bit of a structure to how you would access that. So you can see user and browser settings, and then the policy name, what OU we're going to apply this to, and what the impact is going to be. You can see all these ones on my screen right now are suggested, and these are for Chromebooks. So if you're at a school with Chromebooks, what we are simply saying is that we would encourage you to look at how you are controlling the sign into those devices. In the admin console, just a real good check for you to do is, if you, when you go in and you see the last active device, if you don't see a user next to that, usually what it actually means is the user doesn't exist within the tenancy that you're on, which means they're signing in with an alternative account. Now, that might be okay in your setting, but all we're just asking you to think about is maybe you might want to restrict that. So when you're signing in, that you might want to restrict the configuration pattern for which you're signing into. What you'll notice is that there's actually one that affects the browser here as well. And that just means that when you're signing in, once they're signed into the browser, we can actually restrict that they're an at-schools domain. The other one that we just want to point out is if you have school-managed Chromebooks, it's a good idea to block multiple sign-in access. This is for a variety of reasons. Number one is that Chromebooks have a really fast reboot cycle. So there's almost no reason to have multiple students signing into the same device at once. It is so easy just to get to disable that function, make them sign out, and then sign back in. It's not really going to change how fast they get into that device at all. The other one is this next one down on the list, which is to look at the secondary Google accounts. So thinking that at the moment, you might have students who are signing into their at-schools account, and then they're actually adding their personal accounts in there. Just thinking about the impact of that, that potentially means that those students are now sitting on Gmail, which we don't have enabled in our tenancy, but also other applications that there is a reason why we've blocked them. And now they're actually able to access those alternative services because we can't actually control that environment now. So a really good idea to think about, if you've got Chromebooks in your school, maybe we might want to just restrict the sign-in settings. Some of the other ones, and here's the first time where you'll see mandatory. So what this means is that we've actually got alerts set up on these settings. And if your setting is different to this at the moment, we're actually going to be talking with schools individually about altering these settings. We're not going to go and do it for you right now because that's a bit of an overreach, but we will have the conversation about potentially changing those settings. Number one, this one is actually how it's already set, which is to not allow power wash to be triggered. It's already there. We just want to call it out that please don't change this. This is for students only, and we don't want students to be able to power wash those devices. To be really honest, with how Chromebooks work, it's kind of cool anyway, because as soon as they connect to an internet connection, providing this next setting is the way it is they're actually going to automatically re-enroll to your domain anyway. or to our domain. The other one is enrolment permissions, and this is one around for Rob's team in particular. What we're sort of saying is that we're only going to allow you to re-enroll existing devices, that you can't enroll new or deprovisioned devices. The reason for this is we need to control where the Chromebook licenses are going. If you do buy Chromebooks, you just have to reach out to Rob's team in cloud architecture or digital architecture, sorry, and just let them know. And then they'll be able to enable that setting for you so you can actually enroll those new devices. Another one that we're changing is, this is just something that if you want to change it back, then change it back. But there's a cool feature that basically when you're on the sign-in screen that we can display the system info there. I find it really helpful that when I'm trying to troubleshoot without having to sign in, I can actually see the version that the Chromebook is actually sitting on, because sometimes that's pretty much all it is that, you know, it's a really old Chrome OS version and we just need to update it. But there's also other troubleshooting identification stuff there as well. Another one is that, and these are for managed devices, once again, we're going to put a Department for Education logo on the sign-in screen. That's just to identify really that it's a managed device, that it has a that it's sitting within our central tenancy, just so that it's really easy for you to see that as you're moving around to identify which ones are managed and which are not. The other one, we are going to turn on all of the user and device reporting. Currently, this is a little bit limited. This is actually to allow the viewing of data in the admin console. So the one I said before about pending updates, at the moment, you actually can't see that. So we're going to turn all those user metrics on, because what it will actually allow you to do is see things like, hey, is there a pending update? What's the battery health of the device like, is another really good one that is going to come up from that. And so there's lots and lots of device reporting metrics that will come online once this change goes through as well. Moving on to some more, I guess, more user experience things, we're going to recommend that you leave the sign-in keyboard to the US keyboard. There are some very fringe cases of needing to change that to a UK keyboard. I know, as an example, Rich currently has a device that is from the UK, and so they actually do need to change that setting. The other one is that we are saying that you need to disable for a managed device guest mode. And so just removing that from the devices. We also want you to consider maybe improving the user experience. And so looking at the apps and which ones you're force installing and pinning to the bar at the bottom of the Chromebook to sort of help your students and staff move through that Chromebook a bit nicer. We're also changing over the adaptive charging, and the sleep setting came out a little bit ago. There's a range of other settings on that page. I'll just call out the other one, which is that we're forcing accessibility options on. This is like a fundamental right of students in our schools, and it just should be on anyway. It's on my device. You can actually see it now. It is the red ring that is sitting around my mouse cursor. Is just an example of one of those tools that students can actually access, and staff as well. I just want to call out these bottom two here as well, is that it's just for something to think about. Basically, how this one in particular works is that you're able to restrict the user to only be able to sign into managed Wi-Fi networks. So remembering how I said you can manage those Wi-Fi networks back in that devices page. If you have your networks configured through there, what you can actually do is you can say, hey, if there is a managed network available, you're not allowed to connect to any other networks. Now, as I've pointed out in the justification here, this would actually restrict students from connecting to their personal hotspots on their mobile devices. So this is sort of one that we're suggesting that you look at if you have Chromebooks. The other one is just that we can actually say that the changes to managed networks that users may be able to do, that as soon as they log off and log back on, it actually resets all those changes for them. In terms of Chrome security settings, I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can see this in the KB article. Basically, we're just looking at the best way to interact within our environment, being a largely Swift environment as well. But there's some of these things which sort of inhibit the wellbeing reporting in particular, and making sure that we're on top of what our users are using. We're also going to have a look at the students and making it actually disabling their ability to clear their browser history. This is actually all around cybersecurity and data retention requirements that we have in the Department for Education. In terms of experience, we're going to change the preferred language to English Australia. This is like, as an example, in Google Sheets, one of the real frustrating things people always talk about is, oh, the dates all around the wrong way. If you change that setting, the dates are all around the right way. So let's just get that right. And also, we're also going to put the home button and also set the home page once they click that home button to the portal, to the EdPass portal, just to point them in that direction. The other ones is, this is a bit of a different thing that not many schools are using. We're actually going to start using managed bookmarks, and we encourage you to do the same in your school environment. What this looks like is a little folder that will appear when you're signed into your Chrome browser. And in there for staff, we're going to put the EdPass portal, we're going to put Eddie, we're going to put your Outlook email in there as well, and EdChat. And within the students, just the EdPass portal and Outlook for them for their email. How this policy works is that if you add them at the school level, it will just add them to the bottom of the list. So that works really well. I've got an example there that at some of the schools I've worked at, we've delved down to the year 11 and 12 OU, and we've put sace.sa.eu.au on there so that students can easily get to the SACE website as well. But have a look at that one and think about maybe how you can use that in your school. Some other experience settings within Chrome. There's some frustrating things around common apps that we use, and it sort of limits people's ability to access those apps. So largely these four at the top are around notifications, pop-ups, having to enable audio input or video input. We're just basically going to say, look, these are the main apps that we use within the Department for Education in Google Meet, Zoom, WebEx in some occasions, and Teams, that basically we're not going to require users to say that that's allowed. We're just going to allow it. Once again, it's a recommended setting. So if you want to remove any of those from the list, you're more than welcome to as well. The other one in here around experience is just that we're going to set the default color to black and white when you're printing, and that your printing page size is an A4 piece of paper, just to stop sort of some of those other issues occurring as well. The last one on the list for the changes that will happen is that we're actually going to change this one over, which means that the organisational unit for any new shared drives will actually be where the creator exists, so their school. Part of this will also mean that over time, we will also be moving shared drives that have already been created. At the moment, they're sitting at the very top level, and what we want to do is actually move them into the different school sub-OUs. The purpose for that is it actually gives you guys more granularity over applying settings just to the shared drives that exist under your remit. That could be to do things like that. One thing we did at both Murray Bridge and Norwood is we always had the IT admin group in every single shared drive so that they, could actually control access to those shared drives and sort of have them on their list. So just an example of one of those ones that you can't actually see this setting, but this is one that we're going to be doing in the background as well. Are there any questions so far about anything? Because yeah, that's pretty much all the settings we were going to go through. I've got a couple of training slides to show you as well, but yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I'll go through some other stuff. While people might be asking questions, I'm just going to jump to this. I'll just get this link for you. We've actually got something really exciting coming up, which is that we've been working with Rich and the Google team, and we have a full day session coming up in the term 2 school holidays, week 2. So it's 15th of July. And we're encouraging all of you, if you want to come and attend this. It'll be like a really extended session like we've just had today. But Richard and the team from, I think it's Solution One, is that right, Rich? They will be running us through a full day, and they've done this in Sydney and Melbourne already. And it's been a really good experience. I actually attended virtually the Sydney one. And so I would highly encourage you guys to go along to that, because it'll give you also an opportunity to delve deeper into all the different settings that you can't see, but that you might want to alter for your site as well. Like it would be a really good experience for you. So click on that, register. We've got an online option and an in-person option as well. But yeah, jump on there. There's also the digital skills dashboard is there as well. So Travis, any policy that we apply from the top will not override anything that you've set. So if you've already got something in that place, yeah, that's all good. Oh, thanks so much, Rob. Really understand, really appreciate that. There are some things that we do have to set at the top and then they can't be changed, but we try as much as possible to only do that when we really need to. Lots of the time we're trying to make sure that you guys have as much control as you want. Some of the other ones is just that we've got all of these. Now, I don't think I actually gave you the link to these slides. Hang on, I'm just going to chuck it in here. So all these slides are here. We've got all these training opportunities. So one of them, the first one is this Google Workspace Administrator Learning Path that's sitting within the cloud platform. There's also a new educator community for admins that's also started up. So feel free to go and join that and speak with other people working within this space. We've also got some admin exams that are available for Chrome OS and also for Workspace. If you want to do any of those exams, can you just let us know? Feel free to just email me and let me know about those. We're just really interested how many people would actually take up that opportunity. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of that, you want any more information, feel free to email me or Rob, and we'll pass it on to whoever we need to. The other one, as I said before, we've got heaps of digital skills training. Thanks so much to everyone for joining today, but we'd really encourage you. We've got other skills training sessions coming up. One of the ones I wanted to point out because of the group I have in here is we've actually positioned one of the webinars for the very end of the year. And what that one is about is if any of you are on your own tenancy and you want to switch to the central tenancy, we have a webinar scheduled for week 8, which is sort of unpacking what that looks like for your staff. So you can sort of start the process now, and to do that, you just need to put a ticket in through Edit, and that'll get positioned into the digital architecture team to sort of have a discussion about what that means for your school. But what we're also doing is to support your teachers and staff with shifting their files. We're going to do a webinar in week 8 of term 4 to actually help them with that transition process as well. And that is all from me. I'm just going to stop presenting now. And I'm also going to stop the recording. But thank you so much to everyone for joining us. We really appreciate the time. We also appreciate Rich joining us and giving us that overview before as well. So thank you.